Welcome back to Play by Play on Sports Broadcasting Radio. I'm John McCovey here with Jack Transu and James Brookins, and today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. First, boys, what state do you think produces the best athletes?
For me personally, I'm gonna have to go with Texas. Their football is just absolutely out of this world. No other school competes. The only one you could really say is either California or Florida. But even then, a lot of the high-powered schools in those states are prep schools, such as Mater Dei or IMG. So I really think when it comes to the public, even the private schools in Texas, especially Texas 6A, that is the most competitive high school football division in the entire country. I don't really think it's that close. And I think among other sports as well, they have great basketball programs. Even Duncanville's a really good basketball school as well as football. And I think just all around with baseball and basketball and football and even softball and stuff like that, I think Texas all around has the best sports.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't agree whatsoever. I have to say that California, as you said, is in the Big Three and it's number one. When you look at California, you see people like Jackie Robinson, Barry Bonds. You see huge names that made it in the bigs, and then you also come back and you look at how St. John Bosco, as you said, Mater Dei, the big schools in California are big, and they really do it on the biggest stages everywhere. And to me, that's why California is easily the best state for any sport in general.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. The peak schools like Mater Dei, the best schools in the state, they might outrank, like the Duncanvilles, the best schools in Texas. But I think when you overall take just the amount of big schools, the amount of great schools, and you compare it to the amount of big schools that California has, I just don't think it's really that close with, they got Duncanville, they got DeSoto. It's just so many powerful schools that are good in a ton of different sports. So I think when you really just stack up the average of the best ones, I think there's not only more, but I think the average is just better in Texas.
I feel like that's fair to say. I feel like that's fair.
Okay, so now let's talk about college sports, okay? Which colleges do you think overall have the best sports?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna go. I feel like, to me, Florida. I feel like Florida has a solid team in every sport. I feel like there are the teams that they have a number one here, but then you drop down and you look at other sports and they're not even ranked. I feel like Florida, you're gonna always see them, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball. You're gonna always see them at some point in every single sport across the board, and that's, to me, what makes them the best college.
I think that's fair to say, but if I had to choose one, I think I would go with, once again, the University of Texas this time. I think you look at the Directors' Cup standings, the teams at the top most of the time are Texas, Stanford, and UNC. But for the most part, in my opinion, Stanford and UNC, they get their points from lower-tiered sports that don't, gain as much traction. But for Texas, they have football, they have basketball, they have baseball, they have softball, they have all the biggest sports. They're relevant, if not really good in every single sport. Softball, number one in the nation. Football, coming off a playoff appearance. Baseball, they made the regional. They weren't any good, but they made the regional. Basketball, they made the NCAA tournament. So I think, and also they're more than likely going to win the Directors' Cup this year. So I think when even the lower tiered sports that Stanford and UNC are good at, such as swimming and diving, rowing, stuff like that, I think Texas absolutely dominates. Rowing won their third national championship just the other day for Texas. So I think when you just factor in not only the biggest sports but also the smallest sports, I think Texas gets the edge. I can definitely see where you're coming from with Florida. They're always relevant. They are always there. I definitely see where you're coming from.
Now, with a team like Alabama, right, and understanding that Alabama, being... Okay. We'll come back to that point later, boys. But now, our last point. So, looking at all different sports, who do you feel like is the most dominant and the GOAT of all sports in general? You have people like Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson who were able to dominate in two different sports. Or you have people like Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, who dominate in their individual sport. So if you had to choose one, who would you say is the best?
To me, I think it comes down to one guy and one guy only, and that's Wayne Gretzky. I don't even watch NHL. I don't watch hockey as much, but when I heard about him and when I looked at the stats that he put up, leading in all of the major categories across all of the NHL, the 4 championships, the amount of MVPs that he had, he really put it all on the line, showed his talent, showed what he went through, and showed that he's better than any across all sports, not just NHL.
You have anything to say to that?
I definitely think that's a really good point. There's that crazy stat, even if he never put a puck in the net, he still has the most points of all time. I think he's, definitely the GOAT of the NHL. And I think it's so the gap between him and second is so far that I definitely think he has an argument. But if I had to choose one person, I think, even though it's kind of a boring answer, I think I would go with Tom Brady. It's really hard to argue with the 7 rings that he has. And I just think in another sport where the gap is so large between him and second, but I think with the difference between him and Gretzky is he's got the 7 rings, he's got the jewelry to prove his dominance.
All right, we now have a caller coming in. We have Simon in Dallas. Simon, what do you have to say to this? Simon?
Hi.
What do you have to say?
I just think that regarding your GOAT conversation topic, I think the GOAT of all sports has to be Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is probably one of the greatest boxers the world has ever seen, and he changed the game and really changed the world for just people of color and just boxers in general. The power he hit with and the finesse he hit with, it was just extraordinary. I have to say Ali is the best.
Okay. Boys, do you have anything to say about Muhammad Ali being the greatest athlete in all of pro sports?
I like the take, and not only has he been was he extremely dominant in boxing, but he just did so much for influence of sports for, like he said, people of color. And I really just think his overall influence in the sport and in sports in general really gets him up there in the status. I think.
Yeah, and his mentality is up there with the mentalities of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, the big time people that you think about when you think about mentality. Muhammad Ali is right on par with those guys for sure.
Okay, we're going to be wrapping up today, but our sponsor today is Major League Wiffle Ball. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel. And also check their website as they're having an upcoming tour where they're going to be going around playing wiffle ball. I'm here, John McCovey,
Jack Transu,
and James Brookins, and we'll see you next time on Play by Play SBC Radio.